Hey everyone, I'm Jordan. I am the developer of Fargone and by extension the creator of Red Dot Game Studios as well. Today I'm going to be doing a little devlog video. This is not something I've done before, but I thought it would be an interesting thing to try. Hopefully you guys enjoy it, and if you do I can look at doing some more of them going forward. But I figured with patch 0.3 taking so long, it would be a good idea to really get into it and talk about exactly what's been going on, why it's taking so long, and also just to reassure everyone that this isn't going to be a regular thing with the game. Once this update is out, things will be released much quicker. It's just this is kind of setting the new groundwork and the new foundation for the game, and it's kind of like a soft relaunch, to be honest. Not that the game necessarily needed it, but unfortunately I am a bit of a perfectionist. There's lots of stuff that just wasn't where I wanted it to be, and instead of just doing it in lots of little bits, I decided just to sit down and just work on it all in one big patch and say, okay, this is what I wanted the game to be in its early access launch, and then now we can start building new content on top of it. With that being said, we're going to jump straight into talking about how we are with the progress of 0.3. A lot of work has been done. I am working flat out on this at the moment. I am still targeting the next 2 to 3 weeks to get this thing in your hands and playable. There's not too much to do now, but the main thing that's not finished yet is the AI system. So I won't be showing any AI stuff today just because it's not where I want it to be yet. But just know that that is the main focus now, and I think it should be within reason to get that done within 3 weeks. With that being said, I have still got lots of cool stuff to go over today, and I'm going to start off with one of the biggest things, that I think is coming with 0.3, and something that people are going to really enjoy, and that is the new modular character system. First things first, got this new inventory screen, which is really nice. I'm very happy with the redesigned UI. It took me a while to get this right, but I think it looks much more professional, nice and clean, and a bit more clear and easy to read as well. We also have a new font because lots of people have mentioned not being a big fan of the font that I used before. So I just think this overall this UI is much cleaner, and also we have the tiered loot system, which I have showed off before. So every item is now going to be categorized into uncommon. Nope, right the first time. Common, uncommon, rare, and then iconic. So that will be grey coloured, green coloured, purple coloured, and then the usual yellow for iconic. So you can see here I've got common gear, and then the SFC, which is a new faction I'll be showing off shortly. They have got rare gear, so it's purple. And I think it doesn't add anything gameplay wise, but it definitely makes looting a bit more exciting, being able to see like the rare items and knowing that something you've got is a bit rarer than other items basically. And it also looks quite nice on the UI too. Also ignore these placeholder icons. All the icons for the modular pieces are done. I just need to actually attach them to each item, and I'll probably do that last because it's it's not one of the easiest things to do. It is very easy to do. It just requires a couple of hours of my time. But anyway, I'm not going to keep you waiting anymore. I'm going to jump straight into showing you some of this modular stuff because it is really cool. So we can see here we've got contractor gloves. Before, in the old system, it would just be a contractor's outfit, and that would contain all the different pieces, and then you could have a helmet and a mask on top. Whereas now, if we double click, ignore the no animations, I'm working on some FPS stuff. I'll explain that in a minute. But we can now see that we've got those gloves on our character, and he is definitely not going to freeze to death in the snow now because he has got some very cozy gloves on. But we're also going to go and add some boots because snow do be cold, and not the most appealing look for a character, but you can see the system works perfectly. There's no clipping issues. We can now add the gear, which is the top half. Because of this new system as well, I can add hoods. You don't understand how much I've wanted to add hoods to this game. I don't know why I've wanted hoods, but like the hood with the mask look is just a really cool one, and now that we've got this new completely custom character, we can do stuff like this. And also it means people can stop pointing out that I use Cinti assets, because we are no longer using Cinti assets. This is all custom. Big shout out to Sad Life. He is in the Discord. That is his Discord name. He has done all of the models for these characters, and he's done a phenomenal job and has really just put in so much work. So a big thank you to him. He's done an incredible job. So we can now start to look at mixing and matching pieces of gear. So we've got this SFC faction, which is a new faction. I don't know if they're going to make an appearance immediately in patch 0.3, but because I want to add some story elements to them, but just know they are done, and they are going to be the first new big bit of content, either with 0.3 or post 0.3, but like very shortly post 0.3. So let's equip the SFC pants. You can see it all lines up perfectly. We are now using two different pieces of different outfits. Sorry, we're using pieces from different outfits, which is really cool. We can also do the top half. So now we've got the SFC top, SFC pants, or the light SFC pants. There's 3 tiers, or medium, sorry. There are 3 tiers of the SFC gear. But we're also mixing that with the contractor boots and the contractor gloves. So you can see the different pieces, different rarities as well. And that obviously adds up to a broken UI element, which I've just seen. I didn't know that was clipping off slightly. I'll have to change that, but that obviously allows you to mix and match different hazard protection levels, different armor protection levels, and weight as well. This system is probably one of the things I'm most excited about. I've wanted this for so long, and I think it's going to add a lot to the game. To put into context, in the current build of the game, you have 13 different outfits you can loot. Actually, no, 16 as of Unknown Origins. So you've got 16 different outfits. With the new modular system and also the new extra SFC outfits that we've added, it actually increases the total number of lootable equipable items to 73. So you've got a load of new items to loot, and I think it's going to be awesome to be able to throw that all into the world very soon and then have people build their characters in completely different, unique ways. Okay, so the next thing we're going to talk about is the new attachment system, and that is something that I've talked about a few times, but it is now, the background code is now, back-end code is now finished for that. All I need to do is actually add all the new attachments to each gun, so a very quick process. The main bulk of it is done. But as you just saw, I picked up a red dot sight there from the table because attachments are now items like anything else in the game. They can be looted, they can be bought, which is much better than the old system of only being able to craft them with materials. I think it was a bit too much of a grind and also not very realistic, whereas AI can now run around with attachments on their guns. You can kill them, loot their gun, strip it of attachments, and store those attachments in your inventory or any chests you've got in your bases or safe locations, and it basically just allows you to mix and match attachments on the fly, which is a much better system. All you need to do is, well, I'll just quickly show you, got the Glock here, no attachment, right click, use. I will add an animation and also a UI indicator on the gun to show what attachment it's got, but for now it's not done. But you can see that that attachment is now on the Glock, on the fly, and it can be removed just as easily and put back into your inventory. So a much better system, and I think it's something that a few people have raised quite a few times, and now that I've done it, I definitely agree that this is a better way to do it. I don't really know why I did the original system. I might have been playing like The Last of Us when I made it, and they've got a crafting system for attachments. I may have just like stole that idea, but this system's better, and I think it adds a lot more. Again, in terms of like lootable items, we've got like an extra 100 items with the new equipment and attachment system in place, so lots of new items for you to loot, which is also great because the looting system or the spawning of loot has been completely reworked as well. You should find a much greater amount of loot, as well as a variety as well. Chests will be much more varied and much more consistent, whereas the old loot system was definitely not perfect. It wasn't terrible, but it was a bit too inconsistent for my liking. The new system is much better, and also I've got a new weight system, so I can actually display the percentage of items dropping and make a proper sort of loot table for everyone to see if people are interested in that, because some people like to know what for like guides and things. I think there's a few guides out there which people have made on the Discord and Steam pages, so it'd be cool to be able to show you guys those weights, whereas before it wasn't. It was just a random mathematical equation as to whether or not you'd get an item, and not even I could predict it, and I wrote it. That says a lot about it. So we're going to take a quick break just to have a look at some of the new graphical features with 0.3. One of the first big ones you may have already seen is we've got light scattering or volumetric lighting. You can see off the top of that wall there is light bouncing off of it. I've wanted this for ages, to be honest. I think it adds tons to the atmosphere of the game, and as many of you know, I love atmosphere. There's a good shot. You see that light coming off of the tree. Atmosphere is, obviously one of the big focuses for Fargone, and stuff like this just adds to that, and especially during storms. Like you'll find during radiation storms that you'll get big flashes of green light bouncing off of the walls and coming through the gaps in trees and whatnot, and it just really makes you feel like you're in a storm as opposed to just a green light flashing in the sky, which is awesome. And combined with the new procedural lightning, which I have shown off before, definitely adds a lot to storms in particular. But the good thing about this new volumetric lighting obviously is global, so it will be there all the time, and it looks very nice. And it's not just trees, it bounces off just about anything, although I am in a particularly tree-based area, so that's the best place to, or the best thing I can show off right now. The next thing is something which I'm gonna, oh, there's a tree in the tunnel. Okay, just to clarify, this is a test environment. This isn't the actual main open world, so you might see some weird stuff like that. The next thing is something that's taken me forever to finish, and I'm going to explain why it's so important. It may not seem it to some of you, but trust me, when you see or play for yourself, you will notice why this was such a big deal. And that is that I've rewritten the entire FPS view system, and that is basically the hands and the gun. I have completely redesigned how that works. Up until now, the FPS view has been handled by a separate camera, so you have one camera to render the entire world, and you have a second camera that renders just the gun and the hands, and that stops the guns from going, clipping through walls and things like that. This system kind of works fine in terms of it doesn't have any clipping. However, because the gun and the hands are rendered on a separate camera, it basically means that it doesn't respect any of the lighting in the world, because it's basically in its own little isolated box. If you disabled the main camera, all you would see is the gun and the hands and a default colored background. There'll be nothing else. So for instance, if you're walking into like a shadowy area or a dark area, the gun and the FPS hands will always be like a neutral level of lit, or lighting, sorry. And you can see that in the main build of the game now. If you load it up and play it and go into a dark area like a house, you'll see the gun doesn't change. It stays at the same level of brightness because it's being rendered separately. This can be noticed especially when going into shadows. If you look here, as we walk into this tunnel, you can see the shadow starts to cast on the gun, and that is not something that happens in the main build of the game, just because, as I said, it's a completely separate renderer. It's a separate camera, so it doesn't respect the shadows at all, which is something that really bothered me for a while, and it really pulls you out of the immersion, because then it reminds you that you're playing the game looking through a camera, you're not in the world. So this is a big change, and as you can see, as we go fully into the tunnel, the gun becomes much darker because we are in we're in a shadow, we're inside, so we're not outside anymore. And again, this is something you probably haven't even noticed, but once you play the current live version of the game and then play 0.3 when it releases, you will notice how much of a difference this makes, especially at like nighttime and going through buildings or foresty areas. It just adds another level of immersion and reminds you that you're in the world of Fargone and not just a floating camera, because you're not a floating camera, you have legs. See, weirdly lit legs there. I don't know what's going on. It's also given me an opportunity just to touch up on a few things, very minor things, but I like them. For instance, the way the gun raises as you go to walls is now like a gradual thing. It kind of, the closer to the wall you are, the higher it gets, whereas before it would just snap up and down based on an animation, whereas now it's a bit more dynamic. It's just given, like, rewriting the FPS camera has given me an opportunity to improve lots of different things. We've got like a subtle depth of field now when you're aiming on the iron sights. It kind of lets you focus a bit more on where you're actually aiming, which is cool. And by shooting there, I've just kind of touched on the next point that I want to go into. The next point is going to be probably the second or even tied for the biggest change with this update, which I think people are going to love, and that is a completely reworked audio system for guns. Up until now, Fargone's had a pretty weak audio system for guns, especially distant gunshots. All I did with distant guns was lower the volume depending on how far away they were from the player. That's not how sound works at all. It's completely unrealistic and makes distant firefights impossible to hear. You'll never, like, it's very hard to hear distant AI fighting zombies or even shooting at you because the volume would just become zero if they were far enough away. Whereas now with the new system, it actually calculates different equalizers based on the distance and the terrain, so you'll hear like the snap of a distant gunshot as opposed to just it being quiet. It would change its tone or its pitch depending on where the person firing the gun is standing and how far away they are. And also it improves the first person audio as well. I'm going to demonstrate that now with the MP7, sorry. I'm going to be quiet and just let you listen to the new audio because I think it's really good. So as you can hear, the audio is massively improved even for the FPS sounds, which is a big thing, obviously, because that's what you're going to hear the most. But I'm also now going to play you a quick clip of something that I put together in a complete sandbox environment. You'll see 3 cubes in the distance of the clip, and each one of those cubes is just representing a character, essentially, and it's going to play some of the sounds that you will now hear when listening to distant gunshots. I'm sorry I can't show you it in an actual combat environment yet, but the new AI is not quite ready to be shown off, so I've had to just put this together to give you an opportunity to hear what the new audio sounds like. So as you can hear from that, massively improved, and that's only from one distance. As you move around the map and running around, you'll hear lots of different sounds, and the guns will all sound a bit different depending on the different environments, and it just adds, again, a huge layer of immersion to the game, and I'm really just happy with where patch 0.3 is at in terms of immersion, because that is a big thing for me. I love immersion in games, and specifically I've taken a lot of inspiration from Stalker, as many people know, and this is kind of just getting it up to another level in terms of what I want it to be. We're going to take a little quick look at some of the new zombie models as well. There are actually a couple of little bugs in these models at the moment, so I apologize. This guy's got a chunk of his arm floating and a little bit of a stretched head. But these are just literally, I've thrown these in for the purpose of displaying that we are now using entirely custom models. There's no Synty stuff anymore. These zombies are actually based on actual characters in the game, so they're no longer just an asset and don't fit in with the world. For instance, this is the new SFC outfit, which I am currently wearing, and you can see this is just a zombie variant of that with a floating arm because the chunk's there. But this is really cool for, again, making the world feel more consistent, and actually like the lore will make a bit more sense now. You haven't just suddenly got like a bunch of random zombies that don't make sense with what the Baron is supposed to be, which is cool. We also have a new gore system which I've been working on, which is for humans and zombies. Take a little shot, we can now see that the gore effects actually splat on the wall as well as the floor. It's no longer just a little thin line. I know it's a bit of a grim topic, but gore in a zombie game is pretty important. So this obviously is a much better system. I think it makes firefights a bit more brutal, to be honest. Bit of a grim topic, but it is a zombie game, so what do you expect? But this has all been finished now. I just need to put these zombies together with some AI, which is almost done. It is the final part of 0.3 will be finishing the AI system, and then it will be in your hands. I'm hoping for like 2 to 3 weeks, maybe a maximum of 4 weeks. My birthday is actually on the 12th of December, and I really want this to be done before my birthday, or at least very close to my birthday. So the latest you'll be seeing this update coming out will be, mid-December, but I'm targeting a bit sooner than that. In fact, actually, I've just ordered a OLED Steam Deck, and it sounds silly, but I really want to be able to play 0.3 finished on the OLED Steam Deck. So that will be my goal. I will be sharing more info again soon, but the next time I share info will be when this is literally imminently releasing. So next time you see a devlog, you can be excited to know that 0.3 will probably be out like a few days afterwards. As always, I'm active in the Discord. I'm always in there, so if you have any questions or just want to chat or ask anything, I will be talking about it in there openly. I often share videos and photo clips in there as well of just what I'm working on, so if that's something you're interested in, you can hop on over to the Discord and get involved. I will also probably be doing a podcast on Sunday for someone that wants to talk about Fargone, and maybe share some more details in there with some things I've got planned in the future for the game as well, so I'll be sharing that again in Discord if you're interested. So thank you very much for spending the time to listen to me ramble about all the stuff that I'm working on and what gets me excited with this game. Looking forward to speaking to you guys again soon. Have a good one.